Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a business growth expert where I help business owners grow and scale to create wealth and freedom. And today, I have an awesome guest. Her name is Fiona Redding, and she's a mindset coach, business strategist, facilitator, motivational speaker, and is the founder of The Happiness Hunter. And she hosts the popular The Happiness Hunter podcast, and is the co-host of the Business Addicts podcast, and is a teacher on Insight Timer and the author of The Happiness Hunter's Guide to Meditation. And the just released Is It Possible? Letting Go of Who You Think You Are to Live the Life of Your Dreams. And over the last 10 years, she has overcome a problematic drinking habit, health challenges, financial stress, unemployment, relationship breakdown, single parenthood, being homeless, and re-engineering her business back from the brink during the global pandemic. And she believes in life integration rather than work-life balance, and shares life and business changing tools and strategies, including how making your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social well-being a priority will lead to success in every area of your life, stepping you through the process to clear the clutter and to live the life of your dreams. Welcome, Fiona Redding, and thank you for being on my show.
Thank you, Athin, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing show for everyone watching and listening today. So you're a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us about you and your journey.
Well, you just gave a pretty good overview there in the introduction there. But basically, I accidentally fell into business as a result of really being unable to re-enter the workforce in any really meaningful part-time capacity after having my kids, and going through an experience in my life where I really did hit rock bottom. Like, there was not one area of my life that was functioning well. And I realized I needed to think a little bit more laterally about what I could do for work, and also made the decision that I was willing to do whatever it took to change my life. And so the Happiness Hunter originally started with me just looking at how I could translate my skill set to self-employment. And I'd previously worked as sort of in large organizations, helping with, organizational change and project management, and sort of working communication across all the levels of the organization. And I thought, I can go and become a business consultant. So I decided to start a business doing business consultancy. And then I made this decision that, I was going to stop drinking and completely change my life. And I wanted to be happy, and I was willing to do whatever it took to become happy. And then I started working with my clients around all the stuff I was learning and implementing in my own life. And that's how the Happiness Hunter started. So fast forward 10 years, I've now working with clients all over the world. I still do my business consulting, but we're really looking at it from a very holistic perspective and working a lot on the mindset with my clients as well. So I work with individuals, and I also work with organizations as well. So I have created an incredibly amazing job for myself, far more than a job, real vocation. And I get to help other people in their lives as well. So it's very fulfilling, and I love it. And, as you say, it's sort of all about all of the things. It's about wealth. It's about freedom. It's about living purposefully, fulfillingly in your life. And I have the wonderful opportunity through the Happiness Hunter to be able to help other people with that. So I feel very grateful.
Yeah, awesome. Love that story and background there of how the journey unfolded, and here we are today to delve deeper into some of these topics. So, and I love you talked about mindset there, and I'm an NLP master practitioner. Like, I'm big on mindset, like yourself. I think it's so important, in business or in life, but no matter what you do, but even especially business. So let's talk about minds a little bit more, right? Because some people might think, oh, whatever, do I really need to know about this stuff? So what are your thoughts around mindset and how we should be looking at our mindset, which affects a lot of other things in our business and life?
The thing I love about that is you actually asked me what are my thoughts about that. And that is actually the crux of the whole thing, is that, what we think we become. And until we can understand the power of our minds to actually create the experience that we have in our life, the more we're just going to kind of keep going along the same way, getting the same outcomes and wondering why nothing is changing. So personally, I think mindset is everything. And, yes, we have practices like, tools like NLP, but if you look back through the human experience, you go back to the Stoics, you go back beyond that, you look at all the messages of the Bible, everything is about our mind and making sure that we are mastering the way we think. And so therefore what happens as we do that is that we can then create what we want to create in our life experience through the way we think. And so I think in business, mindset is mindset, strategy, execution. We can have a great strategy, but if our mindset's not in the right place, or if we're not actually executing that, it doesn't matter how good the strategy is. If we're executing but we don't have a good strategy, or we don't believe it's possible, then we're not going to succeed. If we've got fantastic mindset, but we don't understand the strategy that we need, or we're not implementing that strategy, we're not going to succeed. So we actually need all of those three pillars. But I personally believe, and probably you may have a similar philosophy to me on this as well, is that we do need to start with the way we think and what we believe is possible. So if we, was it Henry Ford said, if you think you can, and if you, what did he say?
Yeah, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
That's it in a nutshell, basically. So, and so much of what we think is happening at a subconscious or an unconscious level. And until we kind of bring that into our awareness, we're going to keep sabotaging ourselves, and we're going to keep not just getting to where we want to go. Because most successful people are successful not because they're more talented or have access to greater resources or anything like that. They're just more successful because they believe in themselves, and they believe in their ability to succeed, even if they might not know how to do it. They believe that they can find the way to do it, or they believe that the opportunities will come in, and they can kind of create their own luck and become lucky. So yeah, that idea of mindset, it's not some newfangled, new age, woo-woo, new thing. It's actually the way it is, and it's the way to progress as a human being, I believe.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. So true. Completely agree with how powerful it is. And it's challenging sometimes, for people to do this naturally themselves. Yes, you can get a lot from books and, audiobooks or whatever it is like that. But a lot of the time you need somebody externally, like a coach, mentor, like ourselves, right? To be able to dig deeper into these things that, into their patterns. And if I think about it like an athlete, right? Like all the best athletes in the world have coaches and mentors to help them, right? To make sure that their head's in the game and they're doing everything right. And I know you talk about like the corporate athlete, about, when you're working, that being an athlete in what we do. So you want to talk a little bit more about that, of how we should be looking at it?
Certainly can. But just before I get to that, I just wanted to say about, we can convince ourselves of anything, right? And we can't see our own weak spots now. Blind spots, because they're our blind spots. So we can tell ourselves whatever we want to tell ourselves, and that is the advantage of having a coach or a mentor or a trainer or someone like that, because they can, with absolute love and respect, help you see where you might not be seeing things in the true way, like you're seeing it through the lens of your pre-existing program, which might not actually be telling you what's going on. But this idea of the corporate athlete was, a few years ago, I came across this research, and it's reasonably old. It was, I think, from HBR in 2005 or something like that. And there was a couple of researchers, and what they'd done is that they were looking, it was an American-focused study, and they were looking at corporate C-level suite execs in America. And, the really high levels of burnout and stress and overwhelm. And they were trying to understand what was going on there. And they did this study around looking at a elite athlete in a sporting endeavor, and then an elite executive in the business arena, and the parallels or the not parallels between their performance, because they're both operating at a high level in their chosen endeavor. So why was these guys so successful, and why were these guys on paper so successful but actually burning out and not coping? And what they discovered was that the athlete will actually, there's a few things that they all do. They practice mindfulness and meditation. If you look at the a sporting calendar, is actually got events on, but there's periods of rest and recovery, what they term oscillation between those events. So you're performing at a very high level, then you are actually completely doing nothing and just relaxing before you go back into your pre-training up until the next event. And of course, in a business environment, it's you go the whole time. You might have 2 weeks holiday off a year in America. You're working 20-hour days, 6 days a week. The athlete, looks after their nutrition. They get enough rest. They see specialists for physical ailments, all of that sort of thing. person working in a corporate environment drinks too much coffee, doesn't eat properly, it doesn't have good quality of relationships, it doesn't have any downtime. And so what they started to do was actually, look, if we really want these executives to be performing at a peak level, and we have a lot of executive coaches now, for example, they need to be looking after their mental health. They need to be looking after their emotional well-being. They need to be looking after their physical health. They need to be making time for connection and community and spiritual connection, social connection, having enough rest, having enough time to recover and to focus on other areas of their life. Otherwise, they're going to burn out. So it was this idea of making time for self and making time for balance and harmony and intimate relationships and social relationships and making time to eat properly is actually going to help you perform at a higher level for a longer period of time without burning out.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. So powerful with how that is. And excuse me. So let's talk about maybe some simple steps for people here, right? Because they might be like, oh yeah, but these guys have all this time and everything like that, all these excuses that people have that they shouldn't have, because it's just, time is all about priorities. But let's say if people wanted to start, right? Because there's all these areas that they could be focusing on, but let's do it incrementally. What do you think would be some easy ways that people could start putting some practices in place with their self-care, right? To be able to, not get to that overwhelm burnout stage.
So it's a really good question, because I think, we can't change everything in this red hot minute. And we really do need to look at those areas which are creating the biggest stress and pressure for us. But I really think there are some key areas where we can focus on. One is actually getting enough sleep and getting enough quality sleep, making sure that we're eating properly and nourishing our bodies properly. So it's not about dieting, it's about properly nourishing our bodies. Just moving simply every day, like going for a gentle walk, like it doesn't need to be complicated, and practicing meditation and mindfulness. And I know that's a really difficult thing for people to do when they're very busy mentally, but that constant on is exhausting. And having the space and time to be able to go, you know what, I'm just not going to think for 10 minutes. I'm not going to think about my thinking for 10 minutes. I'm just going to grab my journal out. I'm going to do some doodling. I'm going to stare out the window. I'm just going to just give myself a pause for 10 minutes, and allowing that then to kind of expand out. But something really practical that we can do, which is difficult to do, and it's difficult to do when you're busy, but I like to do this. It's a 2-week time tracking exercise, like a data collection exercise, to actually see what you are doing with your time. So really looking at how you're spending your time in all of the different areas, and then looking at where are you spending time that is not contributing to that bigger vision for your life towards your priorities, and tipping the balance a little bit. So then we look at what does our calendar look like? And rather than having to-do lists, making sure we're scheduling activities across 2 particular blocks of time. So whilst there are some immediate things we can do in terms of just giving ourselves that moment to just go, okay, what am I doing in this moment now? I'm actually feeling really stressed. I'm going to just check in with how I'm feeling. I'm actually feeling really stressed, or I'm feeling really angry, or I'm worried about this, that, or the other. And just going, well, what can I do differently in this moment now to create a different outcome for myself? So really learning to be present with yourself in the moment. And just that process in and of itself is how you can begin to create the change. And then obviously, as you'd know, like there's the more esoteric questions we could be asking ourselves, like what is the purpose of my life, and what would I like to achieve, and what are my values, and how do I want to be living myself and showing up in my life, and how do I therefore then adjust what I am doing in my life? But that's kind of the next step. The first step is we just need to be aware of what's going on in the present moment, so that we can actually start to make a different choice in this moment now about what we're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, love that. So powerful, that part there. And I know with me, just as an extra little point is like, I'm very in tune with my body now. So I can feel when I'm like getting tired, when I've been pushing myself, and I'm like, okay, I just need to, like you said, go for a little bit of a walk outside, look into something, whatever. It's just those little gaps, right, where you could push through, but just that little bit will then allow you to go further. Otherwise, you could, go over the edge, and it would be a lot harder. So I loved all those points, that you said there, because all those little bits, they do add up, to help us in that way. So love that. And the other point there, you were talking a bit more around life, right? I know you like to talk about life integration instead of that work-life balance side of things. I love this topic as well. So tell us more about, this life integration.
So the idea of life integration, and I think intuitively we understand this, but like work-life balance to me says, here's your work and here's your life. And to me, that's actually a nonsense. And especially when we are in a position where we have the ability to create the reality that we want to create based on what we want for our life and our life experience. But, that's, as we said, the sort of the second or the third step. But really the idea of life integration is it's all your life. Like it's all your life and we only get one shot at it, and it's not a dress rehearsal. And so our work really needs to be part of the living whole of our life, not kind of something separate to it that we just have to endure or get through or, suck it up for the next 10 years and then I'll have whatever. It's like, but those 10 years are your life. Like, so really understanding, well, what does a really successful, fulfilling, meaningful, abundant, healthy, happy life look like for me? And what does that component of my work or career need to look like to allow me to feel fulfilled in my life? Recognizing that it doesn't always have to be perfectly and harmoniously and balanced, but it needs to be balanced and in harmony enough that it's not having an adverse effect on other areas of your life for the medium to long term.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. So powerful. And, one little bits that I know that I've, with my coaches, mentors to talk about is like business being the vehicle, right, for your life. It's not the other way around, because whether you're a business or whether you're just in a job that requires more and more of you, and especially with working from home, you're doing more stuff now, can be at different hours. So just going, well, the business or whatever's going to take over a lot. So you have to prioritize the life first as well, right? Otherwise, all these other things that you wish you did in your morning, going for that walk or whatever it is that helps you with this, self-care stuff that we've been talking about, could go down the wayside if we prioritize, the business or what we're doing for work too much. So I think it's important that we focus on that at the same time.
And I think on that as well, and this is a point that is really important that we often overlook, is this idea of living a values-based life. Like that your values are like infused into the DNA of your life and your decision making. And, we don't want to have a values misalignment in our relationships. We don't want to have a values misalignment in the way we care for ourselves and, conducting ourselves with integrity. But equally, we don't want to have a values misalignment with our work and how we work and what we do for work. It's really important because you kind of, you're denying yourself, or you're lying to yourself almost in a way. Just, I need to do this job because, I need the money. Well, therefore there's things that we need to work on around fear and lack and scarcity and belief in yourself or worthiness or your ability or something. We don't just stay in an environment that's not right for us because we're clear about who we are and what we value and how we want to show up and what's important for us in life. We're courageous enough to make decisions based on what's true for us in every area of our life, including at work. And I think a lot of the time we get stuck in an environment that isn't necessarily the best environment for us to be in to live that fully expanded experience for life.
Yeah, I love that. Comes back to that passion and purpose that doing, what's aligned with you and in going forward, not just about the money. And then it's also could be a challenge later, right? Like, let's say you do something new, right? You start that business like we've done or whatever it is that is more aligned. But what can happen sometimes in that moment is what a lot of people are coining now as imposter syndrome, right? It's like, what do you mean? I've done this job or whatever it is previously for a period of time, and then you've changed this going, oh, can I actually do this? So do you want to talk a little bit more about, if we're in those transitional phases, how we can overcome that imposter syndrome to really, be successful in that new avenue?
Oh, there's so much I could say about this. So imposter syndrome was this concept that was coined in the 70s. There was a couple of academics that were doing some research, and they discovered that there was these women, really all indicators indicated that they were successful and talented and quite capable, saying things like, I'm going to fail this exam, or, I don't know how I got into this class. And it was like, the reality didn't match up to their personal understanding or view of themselves. And this idea of imposter syndrome is basically whereby you think you're an imposter, you're not meant to be there, it's a mistake, I'm going to get found out, I'm a fraud, etc., etc. But what's actually happened since then is that this idea of imposter syndrome is so common. It doesn't just affect high achieving women, it affects everyone. Like, we are all affected by this belief in ourselves that we're not good enough, or we're not worthy, or we're going to get found out, and everybody's walking around with it. And I think that's kind of, when I sort of discovered that, I'm like, oh, everybody feels like this. Then they kind of normalized it for me. But there's so much I could say on this. So the idea of imposter syndrome is we want to become aware of the way we're thinking and the dialogue, our internal dialogue, and we want to start challenging that a little bit. And that goes back to your point before about having a coach or a mentor who can help challenge your thinking. Like, I think my job is really to just help challenge people's thinking in a way. But also, too, there's other things around that. Like, I believe that happiness is to be found in the overcoming of obstacles and challenges in our lives, and not in the absence of them. So the more we can kind of put ourselves in the way of obstacles and challenges, the more we grow, the stronger we become, the better we learn how to understand who we are and how we tick and what's important to us. And, Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic, said, what stands in the way becomes the way. So overcoming our obstacles and challenges helps us become more of who we are. So we don't want to be afraid of these feelings and thoughts that we have around ourselves. We want to see them, oh, wow, this new thing that I've got, this new understanding of myself, this weakness that I've got, or this unhelpful way of thinking that I've got. This is an opportunity for me to challenge that and to move through that so that I can actually get somewhere where I haven't been before, which is what they call outside of our comfort zone. Because it's comfortable thinking the way we're thinking. And if we're going to move, we're going to come up against ourselves. Our job is to move forward with grace from our heart, lovingly, caringly, compassionately, kindly, humbly moving forward into that new space. So, and also too, the other thing is there really is no failure. If we can, it's a really hard concept to get your head around when you think about bankruptcy or whatever, but you've had a go, like you've learned something, you've become something more than what you were before. It's a very challenging experience to overcome, but you have to learn acceptance and patience and all of those other things. So the more we can challenge ourselves, put ourselves outside of our comfort zone, have a crack at something. Like, I don't want to live with regret. Regret's very painful. I don't want to get to the end of my days and go, what if?
Yeah, so true. Love that section. So powerful. And it really comes down to courage, right? Like, people coming out there and going, oh, what about this? What about that? What if some people are a bit fearful or not as confident maybe, and, to put themselves out there, and they really need some more of that courage to really start that momentum, in what they're doing. What are some tips maybe you can give some people to really hone in that and really create the life that they're wanting?
I think one of the most powerful things you can do is really honestly look at where you are at your life in the moment and just go, is this okay? Am I happy? Is this how I would like life to be? So, I have a very basic little, very non-scientific survey called the happiness quotient, where you go through the different 7 elements of your life and you actually look at, how happy am I with how my life is tracking across all of these different areas, a lot of questions that ask. And what comes from that is actually like, this is something that I'm not feeling happy and fulfilled here. Now I have a choice. I can stay here, or I can use this as a contrast to do something new or different. And guaranteed, whatever that new or different thing is going to do, there will be fear associated with it. There'll be, what if I fail? There'll be, I can't do that. It's never worked before. Who am I to do that? Blah, 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 blah. You can give yourself 1,000,001 different reasons not to do something. But that's having that really strong decision-making framework where you're clear on your drivers, you're clear on your vision, and you're clear on your values. You can start to make and take decisions that the old you could never have imagined doing before. And really important to surround yourself with the right people and just not dream crushers.
Yeah, I love that. And, it's so important. I love all those points around the decisions, right? And I find that when you do something, like I've done, exercise with my clients as well. And when you do it the first time, you're all like a little bit fearful. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it actually wasn't that bad. It was, it was okay. It was pretty easy, whatever comes from that. And you're like, I can do that again. And it's like building a muscle, right? Like, you've got to keep building that up, and it just gets easier and easier over time. Always the first time you do something, always challenging. But when you keep doing it, you sort of build that courage, that confidence in yourself, and it just becomes easier and more fun, right? over the time.
100%. And like, even I was just, as you were saying that, I was thinking, I remember the very first podcast I was a guest on. Like, it was weeks of stressing and sleepless nights and what am I going to say and notes and all of this. And now it's just like, I'm confident in it because I know I can do it. Not because I'm awesome or anything like that, because I've practiced. And even when I wrote my first book, that was the actual whole purpose of that book was a practice book. And I did it on one very small topic. Well, not a small topic, but a very narrow topic, meditation, right? I just wrote about one thing, how I started meditating. Here's some different ways to meditate. Here's some meditation scripts, and off you go, right? It was a 25,000 word book. It had spelling mistakes all through it. I couldn't promote it. I couldn't market it. I was like, what are people going to think? But what that process did was enabled when I did my second book. I mean, it was still incredibly difficult. And honestly, I think starting a business, writing a book, doing anything like that is one of the best personal development exercises a person can ever undertake. The second book was very different because I'd worked through a lot of that stuff to get to that second book. And now I'm still got it's quieter, about getting it out there and marketing it. And I don't actually care what people think. It's like the people that have got a problem are never going to read it anyway. I didn't write it for them. I just need to make sure I'm getting it out there now to the people that do want to read it. So that was a new way of thinking. Whereas before I was like, everyone's going to criticize me, and they're too busy. The people are not interested or bothered or interested. But what I needed to look at was, what was I telling myself about the outside world's opinions, and get to work on that for me, because they're my belief systems that I'm seeing projected in the outside world. I need the outside world to show them to me so that I can get to work on them. And I'm sure when I do my next book, it will be completely different again. But I wouldn't have been able to get to this point had I not done that first book. And it would have been so easy not to do it, because who am I to write a book about meditation?
Yeah.
Who am I not to? Who are we not to? Like, we're the only people telling ourselves we're not allowed to do something.
Yeah, love that. So powerful, and great testament, a great story of how you built that over time. And I remember there was one thing one of my coaches and mentors said was, if I can't, then I must, right? And it's like that really great thing. If you say you can't do something, then you got to do it, right? And then you realize it's actually not that hard. And if you keep doing that, it's that getting outside your comfort zone, like you've been talking about, and it just becomes easier and easier, and you become the superhuman. And like us now, we've been constantly doing this for years, right? Ourselves. It's like that personal development journey. It's like we didn't just rock up like this. We were not born like this. Right? So we had to build the muscles. So you can agree, right, that we've got to a point, and we're still going to grow. We're nowhere near, where we could be. It's always a journey, right, of growth over time. So people shouldn't be looking at us going, but it's easy for you because of X, Y, Z. It's like we all have to start somewhere, and we make that decision and then move forward, right?
And I think too, in a way, that's one of the things that's quite powerful about sort of my story is that, honestly, like, I had a lot stacked against me. I had no money. I was a single parent. I literally built my first website off Centrelink payments. Like, so people tell me that all their butt fees, but you don't understand. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. It's just not going to fly, because if you want it, you will make it happen. I'm telling you. And if you will be astounded at the ways that things can kind of fall into place and happen for you if you are taking the right action. It's like the universe rises up to meet you, and it's saying, I'm not taking no for an answer here. This is going to happen. I could not tell you how I have done most of the things I have done in my business. Honestly, couldn't tell you, but I just made a decision I was going to do it, and off I went and did it. And there's things that I haven't done as well, that I look at and I think I need to take action on that. Okay, why am I not taking action on that? But also too, I think it's really important that it's easy to look at other people and feel like jealous, or, I'm not where they are, I'm going to give myself a hard time, rather than actually using that as like inspiration. It's like, if they can do it, honestly, if they can do it, I can do it. They're just showing me that it's possible. That's all. So I just got to make a decision that I'm going to have a crack and have a go. And the only thing I need to really be looking at comparing myself against is who I was yesterday. It's nothing to do. I'm not in competition with you. We're on completely different trajectories. We've got completely different karma that we've got to work out. We've got completely different experiences that we're here to have. It's not a competition, because it's literally not a competition. We're just here together. exploring the world together in our own ways. And that's really liberating, I think. It's like, you do you, I'll do me, but we can hang out together.
Yeah, love that. So true. We're all on our own journey and growth from there, as long as we focus on that, want to improve over time. So love that. And I know another topic you like to talk about is resilience. And I think it's really important, especially with younger people these days. I'm noticing there's a bit less of that happening, compared to the old school sort of working hard type mentality times. But I'd love to hear more about resilience from your perspective, and then how we can, I guess, build resilience especially during challenging times.
So I like to think about it like sort of resilience and grit. So resilience to me is the ability to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and go, I'm just going to keep going. Whereas grit is the stubborn refusal to quit. So if you've got resilience, breeds grit, like develops grit. And then as you sort of get that, it's like, I've come too far. I'm not going to give up yet. I'm not going to give up. I'm never giving up. Like it's not even allowed to be considered as an option. So when that thought comes in, it goes. And I've trained myself. I just don't, those thoughts come in, I just go, oh, shut up, off you go. I'm going to keep just going. But the idea of resilience is, we are going to get knocked down, especially when we are moving beyond where we've been before. And a lot of the knocks that I've had, and I don't know if you can relate to this, really come to me having to learn how to become more humble. To really, they're little ego deaths, each time your ego is actually being destroyed in a way every time you fall, because you have that's what you have to come over. So what you have to overcome to kind of rise again. And when you rise again, you're stronger. You can do it. You've learned something, you've let something go, you've adapted something. There's something that's happened. But if you just go, oh, well, it didn't work and I'm just not going to get up, then that's it. Like, to me, that's not acceptable. So I think we have to, this is why this idea of having a vision and a why and a purpose is so important. And you honestly can't spend too much time on developing that. Because to me, it's like, well, that's why do you get out of bed every day? Like what's the purpose of it? And as we are working towards something, that's where we find happiness, I personally believe, because for me, happiness is an inside job. It's about building something within yourself, connecting to something within yourself, becoming aware of the power that you have within you that's not in your head. It's your spirit, it's your soul, it's your heart. So we only get to kind of tap into that through becoming resilient, through actually letting go of all the things that aren't enabling us to experience that. So resilience is incredibly important. And I think it's kind of like helping you learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. I think you build something within yourself as you fall and you fail and you get back up again.
Yeah, definitely love that. And I'll completely agree. And I know that like life is not just an arrow that goes straight up, right? There's so many peaks and troughs through there. Ideally, you go up over time as a trend line, but there's going to be a lot of challenges in business, in life along the journey. So that's where the resilience and the grit comes in, right? Because it's easy to throw in the towel, and that's why most people don't succeed, because they throw in the towel too early, right?
And there's stuff that you can only discover in the valley.
Yeah. So true.
Like embrace the valley. Like every time I'm come away, I just think, oh, once I kind of see, I like, oh, okay, I'm in the valley of despair. Okay, this is actually positive. It's positive that I'm here because there's something, we talk about being exposed or enlightenment. There's something here in the dark that I need to see. It needs to be brought to my attention. So I'm going to be open to this experience. I know this time will pass, all things pass, and so a big part, I think, for me has really been about faith as well. And that was something very unexpected. I did not expect that. But that real sense of leaning into being part of something that's bigger than just what I think is me, that my ego identity, if you will. And that's what I was saying too before about that idea of business and writing a book and all of those things, because you really have to go into the valleys. There's not it looks shiny on the outside, but it's not always shiny on the inside, but it is becoming shiny. It's so, that's why I think also too, we can't look at other people and compare ourselves against them, because we honestly got no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Most of the time they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so true. So true. I love that point. So powerful, and shared so much gold today with us, Fiona. And I guess as we're wrapping up here today, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
Remember who you are.
Cool. Remember who you are. I love that. So profound there in a few words. We connected through our networks where I learned about your awesome journey from, going through many challenges that you've mentioned today, to coming out on top and sharing the learnings through the Happiness Hunter. Amazing woman, so resilient, a lot of grit, and, making things happen. And I'm sure we continue to help people every area of their life to clear the clutter and live the life of their dreams. And very grateful that we connected, and look forward to working with you. So Fiona, how can people find you, get in contact with you?
So they can go to the happiness-hunter.com website, or come connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm just there, Fiona Redding, on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you and let me know that you heard about me through the podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely check out Fiona on her website and LinkedIn. Many areas there. She's definitely got a lot of happiness from the troughs that we talked about. They're going into the peak, so you can enjoy that and keep growing over time. And thank you to everyone for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. If you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me in any platform to see if we're a good fit. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way we know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.